Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efene, the great Malabite in blue.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rufai. Well, I don't think there's so much to laugh about when you're looking at some of the stories on the front pages of Nigerian newspaper, but we must keep our spirits high.
Yes.
Yes. Now, we start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We start with the story above the masthead. Senate set up panel to probe Buhari's over 30 trillion naira ways and means. Lawmakers to investigate Anchor Borrowers Program, $2.4 billion forex scam. Well, it's good to hear senators speaking yesterday. Of course, there was a rush of approvals given to the President Buhari administration. Each time he comes, it was like, to use local parlance, carry go, easy approval. Now, the Senate will be probing how these ways and means were spent, what they were utilized for. It's good to hear Senator Ahmed Lawan speaking yesterday, because he was the one who declared, as Senate President of the 9th National Assembly, that anything the President brings will be approved. He gave that full stamp of approval even before bills or approvals were sought by the President Muhammadu Buhari. So now that the chicken has come home to roost, we want to know how this money was spent. Of course, the Anchor Borrowers Program, if for nothing else, the fact that we don't have enough rice after all the pyramids, real, imagined, constructed of rice, as a result of the Anchor Borrowers, the success then as advertised of the Anchor Borrowers Program, I think a probe of that program, who got what, how these monies were utilized, whether this cash actually went into agriculture, as we're told then. Now we seem to know better because we don't have enough grains in the country. Now, the lead story, federal government declares war on FX speculators as Naira slides to 1,830 Naira to the dollar. Deploys Office of the National Security Advisor, CBN, Police, EFCC, Customs, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit to combat speculative activities. Tinubu says $10 billion FX inflow coming. President declares government will create millions of jobs, unlock trillions in public wealth to boost the economy. Shetima, some forces hell-bent on plunging country into anarchy. Nasima, Rice CBN Governor, Minister of Trade, profiles strategies to address Naira slide, inflation pressure. Yes, the federal government is doing all it can, using both orthodox and unorthodox measures to stem the slide of the Naira. Of course, with the Office of the National Security Advisor and of course, EFCC, all working to ensure that those who speculate in the dollar, who are considered as those responsible for the depreciation of the Naira, are being hounded. But not too sure whether that is where the solution lies, because it has been said over and again, not enough dollar for the demands, hence the pressure on the Naira. It is simply as straightforward as that. But, of course, if there are speculators out there, then that is why these security agencies have been engaged to fish out, to pursue and hound these guys so that they can leave the Naira alone so that it doesn't depreciate further. But again, looking at the figures, at 1,830, that is a serious drop of 335 Naira in just 1 week, because the Naira closed at 1,551.24 Naira to the dollar on Friday. So this is the highest slump on the parallel market in recent memory. However, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is promising that he will create millions of jobs. Yes, it's a promise. And how to do that? By unlocking the value of Nigeria's vast public assets with a view to optimizing and doubling the gross domestic product of the country. Yes, sounds like a line from a campaign material. But of course, that statement was made yesterday at the conference organized by the Ministry of Finance Incorporated with the theme, Championing Nigeria Economic Prosperity. Well, the managing director of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated will be on this program later in the day, and I'm sure he will shed more light on how this government plans to make this country prosperous again. But the Minister of Information is saying that Nigeria won't fall. Nigeria remains the giant of Africa. I like that term, Nigeria, we're the giant of Africa. Of course, nobody can intimidate us. We are the giant of Africa, but we have to deal with the numerous challenges we face in this country. Now, the Guardian newspaper, confusion as Naira crisis defies intervention fuels inflation. Of course, it was Fela Anikulapo Kuti who sang confusion break bone. But this confusion, I'm not sure it's going to break any bone, but certainly a lot of confusion in policy and policy implementation. Ruben, you dilated on policy evaluation a short while ago. Well, it's like enough of that is not being done. As we see policies unfolding, circulars flying, or some at cross purpose. So perhaps we need to spend some time on policy evaluation. Maybe Ruben should have been at the retreat for ministers to hammer this policy evaluation mantra home. Now, other stories on the front page of The Guardian. Falana insists on price control as Shetima blames saboteurs for food crisis. Yes, and another story on the front page of The Guardian newspaper. Marketers seek state of emergency on refineries. Yes, the refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery, one of the refineries in Port Harcourt, we're told has been repairs, technically, has been completed. But nothing is flowing out of that refinery yet. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, despite federal government clamps down, dollar hits 1,900 Naira, pound 2,250 Naira. BDCs raided, operators arrested, trial and error, not solution. Economists partner us to address volatility. Operators tell government. Nasima wants dollars pegged at 850 Naira. A number of suggestions to the government. Perhaps some of these options need to be considered. But for now, I don't want to believe it's like we're threading a needle in the dark with this rush of policies and measures being taken. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, NECA, oil marketers to federal government. Sean Pride, review subsidy removal, flotation of Naira. List anti-business policies of government, worsening employment index, other causes of nation's economic woes. Peg Forex rate at 750 Naira to the dollar. Oil marketers beg Tinubu. A rush of suggestions here. But those who are saying the government should reverse subsidy remover, they should know that there's already subsidy. Going by the calculations of landing costs, the value of the Naira, there's already subsidy there. So if they're to reverse to the pre-May 29 price, where are you going to get the money to pay for that? But it's a suggestion coming from NECA, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, and oil marketers. Now, the Blueprint newspaper, the lead story, Senate to probe Buhari orders over 30 trillion ways and means. Business Day newspaper, no pay, no power hits electricity sector. Yes, Aso Villa, one of the culprits of not paying their bills to power distribution companies. But I read a report somewhere that, well, there's an instruction from the president that they should not pay after reconciliation of what Aso Villa actually owes the power holding company in charge of the Abuja zone. I hope other ministries and agencies, barracks, they will also pay their electricity bill. New Telegraph newspaper, of course, the same story. Senate to probe Buhari orders over 30 trillion ways and means. The Punch has that story too on its front page. The Punch newspaper, another story there. Motorists lament poor drainage as flood submerges Lagos roads. Yes, that rain yesterday was heavy. It rained cat and dog, and the roads were immediately flooded. But the road today, they're free because the rain did not continue. Imagine when we have that proverbial 7-day rain in Lagos, what will happen? Because that rain lasted for a few hours and the roads were flooded. I hope the Ministry of Environment in Lagos will attend to the drains. Let's just go straight to the Nation newspaper, Chetima. We will battle forces bent on subverting country. That's the Vice President, of course, Office of the National Security Advisor, CBN, NFIU, go after saboteurs. Those attack saboteurs. Now the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times of London. Prince issues gather plea for a permanent peace. The Times of London. That's Prince Williams. Now that story is also on the Daily Telegraph newspaper. William, fighting in Gaza must be brought to an end. While, of course, the Independent newspaper, the same story, ceasefire debate, Williams wades in. Too many have been killed in Gaza. Prince says conflict must end. Of course, Prince Williams, well, he touched base with number 10, Downing Street, before making that statement. But of course, I think he has just done the right thing. We need all voices of reason across the globe to put an end to the genocidal activity of the Israeli Defense Force going on in Gaza. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
Very brief comments. Prince Williams, Prince of Wales, wading into the matter, we must notice a departure from standard practice. The royalty usually tend to avoid contentious matters or political matters. But in this particular case, he's playing the role of the royal diplomat. What can be said is that his position is in sync with the position of Western leaders at this moment. They are not calling for a permanent ceasefire. What the sentiment is for a temporary ceasefire. But he has gone a step further, saying, look, there should be immediate humanitarian ceasefire. And the timing of his statement is instructive. He issued that statement, then he visited the headquarters of the British Red Cross, just to reinforce it. And then at the same time, number 10, that's Downing Street, issued a statement saying that, they support what he has said. But it's a very unusual intervention, even if it reflects the international mood in terms of humanitarian ceasefire, against the background of Netanyahu and Israel threatening to launch an assault on Rafah, which is the last stronghold where you have about 1.4, 1.5 million Palestinians.
A city that had just 200,000 population
so
before this war.
Israel responded, of course, but they were very diplomatic. They say, oh, they welcome the prince's, intervention. Even if they were dismayed, even if they thought the prince sounded naive, getting into uncharted territory.
I don't think there's any naivety there.
In an unprecedented manner. No, I'm looking at it from the Israeli perspective. Okay. But they were nice enough not to criticize the prince publicly.
Like they criticize Lula, the Brazilian president.
But but that's about anti-Semitism, the comment made by Lula da Silva. But in any case, that's the general sentiment. Now to come to Nigeria, some of the stories on the front pages. Nasima, you quoted Nasima.
Yeah.
He's offering advice through the president, Dele Oye. And he says those recommendations, short-term, mid-term, long-term, reflect the sentiments of the organized private sector in Nigeria. But there are issues. Nasima is recommending fixed exchange rate. The same fixed exchange rate that we pivoted away from. I don't know whether, that's a very good advice to say you fix, they even put a date to it, that by March 21, government should peg the exchange rate.
But the amount they mentioned is close to what government officials are saying is the fair value.
Yeah, but we move beyond that. Like the Naira, since they made that statement, has depreciated by about 60%. The second thing that they said, that Nasima said, which I think I find very instructive, is that they are saying that government should control foreign exchange transactions to make sure that all government transactions by ministries, departments, and agencies and state governments is within the official space. And I think that is a good suggestion, but how do you enforce it? Because when these state governments collect their money, they go to the parallel market. And that's part of the problem, creating crisis within the forex market. And everybody has been seeing it. They put their finger on it. The other things that they are recommending are just general issues about enforcing regulations, about investing in health, education, infrastructure, SMEs. We all know that. But those are the two critical points in my view that they raise. Second thing, at the conference yesterday where the vice president represented the president at the Ministry of Finance Incorporated event, the VP, apart from talking about liquidity, 10 billion that they will put into to increase supply to manage a forex crisis. Yeah, where they will get the money from.
Where is that money coming from?
We don't know. They say they will manage assets better and all of that. But the vice president made the point about people who are sabotaging the country, about people who want to go to Venezuela, about people who want to go to Lebanon, about people who have forgotten that the election is over and that we're in a governance phase and are still behaving as if they are in the election mode. And then he moved on to talk about the crisis of smuggling and the effect. Well, if there are persons who are trying to cause anarchy, to use his word, in the country, it is the responsibility of government to identify those persons, to name them. It's not enough to just, have blanket innuendo. When he says Venezuela, is he referring to PDP governors? When he says Lebanon, who are the people specifically that he's referring to? The VP let us in the dark in that regard. Second, he says people are smuggling food. The truth of the matter is that food smuggling is part of the problem. Nigeria is feeding Africa up to Central Africa. And he cited the example of Ilela Axis in Sokoto State, where, trucks, 45 trucks of maize were being taken across the border, causing food inflation in Nigeria. Now, what is customs doing? If our borders are porous and people are taking food out of the country, it's for government to address these issues. It's not for government to lament. The lamentation will not serve our purpose. The third issue that came out of that conference was this report that the Office of the National Security Advisor, police, customs, Air Force, Nigerian Army, everybody now is involved in looking for, people who are involved in forex speculation. I mean, it just shows how ridiculous, this situation has become. I hope we will not get to a stage, because they say the police is involved, whereby if you have $200 in your pocket and the police search your pocket, they will say you are a forex speculator. and the policeman will seize your $200. I mean, look, there are.
It's even happening already.
Ruben,
Civil defense will start searching people's pockets.
desperate situation requires desperate measures.
Yes, I've heard you. But you know, all the operatives involved. In the EFCC, they say they have 7,000 strong men in all the
who are out there
looking
for speculators.
I hope they will not be entering people's houses looking for $500, and they say this is a speculator, and they will lock you up. Because in Nigeria, you know, there is a romance with absurdity that is beyond comprehension. So the policemen have to be educated. That is not to see somebody with $100 and say you are a forex speculator. They know the people who are speculating. And that takes us back to the point made by Deleuye of Nasima about government officials who are the ones causing the crisis by taking government money to the black market after collecting allocations. I hope they will find the courage to deal with that dilemma.
And it has to be said, that's a very fundamental part of the problem. Those people, especially governors, that do that take money, go to the foreign exchange market, because of their own selfish interests, convert these monies and stock it. They are the ones. It is only in Nigeria that Nigeria legal tender is not acceptable during elections. They are the ones planning for elections. These same politicians. They are the ones planning for the next election. They are the ones that need dollar for the election.
And that's where the EFC should be looking
at.
They should track these governors. If you say the governors are the ones taking, they should track the movement of the money.
Is it not the same?
After all, no governor will walk straight to a malam to change money.
Mr. Feni, is this not the same EFCC that during party primaries they said they were going to track people that were sharing money? They couldn't see one person to arrest, and they still shared money, they still shared dollars. That they were even giving people fake dollars. Is it not during party primaries that the rate of the dollar to the naira increased? So they are the ones causing it. But now they blame other people. They blame those that are trading crypto. Now they've told Binance to take some action. They blame other people for their problem. But majorly, they have a role to play. I would like to come to the Nasima executive saying they should peg. The truth has to be said. When we look for this 10 billion, if we find it, this phantom 10 billion we are looking for.
It's not phantom. The president said we are bringing 10 billion into the. How can you call that phantom? Okay. You don't know the plans they have made.
I know. Just like your grain reserve, it's fine. So if we finally see this money we are looking for, and just like the Afrex money we've been looking for a while, if we finally see this money we are looking for, is it not still to be able to do some sort of peg on the currency, or how do they want to use it? Do they just want to have a managed float in such a way that is when the thing goes down, they intervene? Are we not still looking to be able to push it back to about a 700-800 naira range? Because this is the same CBN governor that keeps saying the naira is undervalued. The naira is undervalued. The fair value is 700, 800. Is that not why we peg the budget at that amount? So when they still look for this billion, it's still what they want to do, because it's not today we've been floating.
So that suggestion is not out of place.
It's not out of place.
Because that is what you use
it to do.
Your budget.
In fact, let me corroborate my point. We floated June 2016 under Emefiele. That was how they brought this neoclassical economics mindset. Buhari float. He floated. From 197, where did we go to? We got up to 550 naira to the dollar. What did we do? Didn't we go to the Eurobond markets to go and look for money? Then when we beat it back, we got to 306 at a point. From 306, we had to devalue further to 360, where we held for a while, before we went to 420. And we are where we are today. And before we now got it over 600, and now where we are today. So if they still look for that money, it's still, and that's why when we're telling people that our market fundamental is different from America, that you want to say have a free float economy, that is different. That this floating we want to float, now cane we go chop there. I no talk for this stable. We never chop the cane. We are eating the cane every day now. You look at it. Daily Trust reporting 1,900. Yeah. By before the end of today or tomorrow, maybe we'll inch up to 2,000. If the government does not get this, their 10 billion they are looking for before Easter, it might be up to 3,000 naira to the dollar. Already, As of January 2022, ZOF, Central African Republic, CFA currency, was 0.8 to 1 ZOF. Today, it is 2.38 Naira to 1 ZOF. ZOF is already higher than the Naira. So I pray for them that we get this 10 billion. I just pray it's not audio again, because we need to stem this madness. It cannot go, once it has to go more than 2,000, 3,000, you are dividing the lives. People are going to be dying more. You are going to see more crime on the street and everything.
Inflation.
So I just pray that this money that they are saying that 10 billion is not audio. It's not the one they will not give us story. Just like they said they are going to look for one since last year. They've been looking for.
Just very quickly, a bit of bright spots. Since you started on, we said it was the news wasn't very cheery. The Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners have reached some sort of agreement with during the negotiations. However, this morning the queue still persisted in many parts, not just in across the country. But they said they've told their members to go ahead and begin to load. So hopefully it would release the pressure and would see the queues reduce. To just say that, and just to mention, the word use was suspended. So there's still some issues that need to be spoken about. The cost of operation is what was complained about. High cost of diesel, high cost of running. I don't think there's a solution as at now, but hopefully that would be worked on, not until the next call for strike.
Based on some agreements.
Yeah.
Promise made by government.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I hope the promises will fulfill.
Government will fulfill
not
those promises.
Until
That's
the
where the
next
problem
strike
always come from.
But just to mention,
government is going to pick up the bridging costs,
Yeah.
freight rates, which is a source of disagreement between the road transport, owners and the major marketers. So I think government deserves some commendation for bringing them together to the table. This is one instance in which government acted swiftly, because it would have been embarrassing for the fuel scarcity to persist. Yeah. So the Ministry of Petroleum, represented by the Minister of State for Petroleum Oil, Heineken Lokobiri, and the agency that is headed by Benga Komolafe, midstream and downstream petroleum authority,
Offspring petroleum regulatory
intervened, and they were able to get it. But they will still have to resolve the conflict between the transport owners and the major marketers. And we hope that they will be able to resolve that so that there can be, proper negotiation and lasting solution, and, prevent likely suffering for Nigerians. Yeah. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efene. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Great Malabite.